What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Marvel Plus podcast, a show where we talk about the Marvel shows on Disney Plus and how they connect to the MCU. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma911 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you want to join the chat, join on the conversation, you can be a sub over there. We'd love to hear your crazy theories and thoughts about the show so far. If you can't catch it live, that's A-OK, and go over to YouTube and SoundCloud the very next day, where it drops Monday at 12 noon Eastern. You can check it out there, give it a watch, give it a listen, and let us know what you think down in the comments below, and we'll bring it up in the very next episode. So today we are talking about Loki episode 4, titled The Nexus Event. So we talked about it with last week's episode, how it's kind of that episode 3-4 like lull period where like it kind of takes a dip, not in quality per se, but just in like progression in a way. Things obviously happen, but it seems like a slower point. Episode 4 picked it right back up from episode 3. I thought it was still a shorter one. I think this one was only 43-minute runtime, but it definitely seemed like more things happened and more interesting things definitely did happen and occur from this episode that I definitely want to talk with you guys about. So let's get right into the rundown summary thoughts as I was watching it. So we open up, obviously we get the recap of things being created by the Timekeepers, like the TVA, so kind of catching us up on obviously the questions that pop up with last episode, learning that everybody in the TVA is actually a variant and not just created by the TVA to serve the TVA. It seems that they are variants from other timelines that aren't necessarily the sacred timeline. So we learned about that. After this little recap, we open in Asgard, which I thought either they were traveling back to or whatever, but it looked very similar to Avengers 2 Asgard, Age of Ultron. Kind of looked similar to that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm skipping ahead to another Asgard. My bad. So we pop in Asgard, and we see a little girl. We see that Lady Loki is getting taken away and how she was taken from her timeline for being a variant and the whole due process there. So we saw that. And we also, with this event, we saw that the judge, whose character name I finally learned is Ramona, we saw that she was a guard at the time. So she's very tightly knit into this whole Lady Loki variant and has some history there. So we get that. We cut back to current day, and we see Ramona taking the golden elevator to go see the Timekeepers, where it'll cut out and go to our opening title. We get a return of Morbius, and he's asking a lot of questions about Hunter C20. Now, I had to pause a few times to try and re-listen to this. I ended up turning on closed captioning to realize what he was talking about, because I wasn't sure if it was a bigger Easter egg or something like that. Hunter C20 was actually the girl we saw in episode 2 with the longer hair, the dreads, who got, enchanted and helped Lady Loki get away. So C20 has been, what's the term that they use for him? One second. Something with a P. Was it purged? I don't think it was purged. Pruning. She's been pruned. And she was going crazy, things like that. And she's called dead by the Ramona character to Morbius. Morbius seems pretty upset about this. Like, she seemed fine. Like, yeah, she was obviously shaken from it. But C20 has been declared dead for that. There was a steep decline in her condition. As I was listening to this, I was wondering if the character is actually dead or if she's just being taken away to kind of be like reprogrammed or reworked for the TVA purposes so she can work with them again. We might have an answer to that later, but we'll see. We're back into the chaos of Lamentus falling apart with the meteorites. Sylvie finally calls herself the Goddess of Mischief, so we are officially confirming, it seems, that she is a Loki, which I know, granted, in the show that's what they were saying, but we were questioning these past couple episodes with the internet theories and whatnot that maybe it was Enchantress. We get it. She is now officially Loki. I'm still confused why she wants to be called a different name. I don't know if we'll ever get a answer for that. It might have just been for us, the audience. So, like, when we're talking about it, it's not Loki, Lady Loki. Maybe to kind of keep that differentiation. I don't know. That's not even a word. Keep it different. So keep it clear for conversation purposes. Who knows? So she mentions how with everything going on, the universe wants to break free. So I kind of tone this to like the life finds a way kind of thing. So like these corrections, it seems like it causes these variants to kind of do its own thing, to not be controlled. So that explains why variants happen. And since she escaped as a child with the Tempad, it seems like everywhere she goes starts a Nexus event, because technically she's not supposed to exist in the sacred timeline. So everywhere she goes, problems occur, and she finally learned, I gotta hide in the apocalyptic events, because then nothing really matters at those points. So she explains how she's been on the run for so long. We cut back to the TVA, and we see the head of security. I don't know her name. She seems really worried. And she's got a lot going on. I didn't put two and two together until later that, yeah, she was enchanted too. Turns out she has seen part of her past, and she is questioning a lot of stuff. Like Mrs. G said in chat, she was questioning and asked, what is her deal? Which we'll have that conversation with Sylvie later, but we can see signs of it now that she's perturbed. So we get that. Along with seeing the guard, we notice that there's a really big branch that is going off of the sacred timeline that they notice. Seems like it's a different one that they just haven't seen before, and they use this to track Loki and Sylvie's location. They're saved by Morbius and crew just before shit really hits the fan and the planet's destroyed, and they are taken into custody immediately. Morbius not a happy camper. Clearly, Loki has betrayed him, as he thinks, and he wants to question him, but he decides to take a more serious route to it. We see a red Tempad door open, and Loki gets pushed in there, which brings him to Asgard. It seems like this door brings up bad memories, and this is a way to kind of torture Loki into talking. This was the point when they went to Asgard where I was like, this looks very similar to Avengers Age of Ultron, when Thor's going through all those like visions of the future. It clearly wasn't, but it was kind of giving me those vibes with the look. And we see a little fun cameo, Lady Sif making her return. So she's going to keep being a time loop to beat up Loki a little bit for cutting her hair. I was wondering if the bad memory door, before we saw the repeat, I was wondering if at some point it was just going to cycle through all of his bad memories, and if eventually him being tossed around by the Hulk from Avengers 1 was going to happen. Sadly, it did not, but it was still a fun cameo nonetheless. Loki does try to disrupt the pattern here and there. He has some success, some runs, others he does not. I was wondering if he was going to try and recruit Lady Sif to his cause. That unfortunately didn't happen, but it was fun, a fun moment nonetheless to see that happen. We do a lot of cutting back and forth here, so we go back to Morbius, and he's talking with Ramona. They're celebrating that they've caught Loki and Sylvie, and throughout it seems like he really is determined to talk to Sylvie. He's asking why he can't, like what's the deal, and Ramona's only really thing or reason saying why not is, you have your Loki, focus on him, have him talk, because he's probably the weaker of the two. She mentions Timekeepers are always watching. Seems like a big brother mentality. Also, just a little fun Easter egg or moment they dropped in here. Ramona mentions that they've captured Kree, Titans, and vampires. The vampires I thought was a cool little Easter egg. I'm not sure if they're referencing Blade, which obviously we know there's confirmation for a movie eventually with the MCU. And that, or if it's Morbius from the Spider-Man series. I know Sony's obviously making a Morbius movie with Jared Leto. I don't think that's going to tie in, but obviously they could be talking about the living vampire Morbius and not Blade specifically, but I just thought it was fun. So we get that. So Morbius has now gone back to Loki. He's taken him out of the little time loop. And he's decided to go old school interrogation, see if the red room, the red door, the memories, whatever you want to call it, is kind of softened him up. They're kind of going at it because they both feel on edge and not happy about the situation. And it's kind of a weird game of chess. They're both kind of lying a little bit to try and get information out of the other. So Loki will mention like he's the mastermind behind this and he made a plan with Sylvie. Morbius is going to say that Sylvie has been dead and like taken care of, and we dig up that information, and we kind of also discover Morbius learns that Loki kind of has a crush on Sylvie, and that's a whole thing. Interesting, I get it, but like if they have a romantic relationship, it seems like pure chaos will happen and will break realities, which makes sense. Sylvie's not supposed to be around. Also, it's himself, herself, whatever. It's a whole thing. But it also makes sense why they would kind of be together, because, you know, they both don't want to be alone, so they'll be with someone else that's them. I don't know. So with this whole discussion, Loki does finally come out because he's been trying to get this information to Morbius and say the TVA is all variants. He wants to give this knowledge that he's learned from Sylvie. The TVA is variants. Because as far as Morbius knows, you know, they were created for that, and that's it. He drops this little knowledge bomb on Morbius. Morbius, of course, doesn't believe him. He mentions how the enchantments allow access to the suppressed memories. He's not having it, puts him back in the red door, but seems flustered. So we cut back to the head of security. Still shook, so kind of flustered with what she's seen with her suppressed memories. And she decides to go see Sylvie. She threatens the guards at the door. They let her in. She goes in, and she brings Sylvie back to Rocksmart that we saw in episode 2 where the hurricane is. And they have a little chat. She wants to learn more about it. Like, what was that? What did you do to me? So yeah, the enchantments cannot create anything and only allows what they've seen to be seen. So I was wondering if she was going to free Sylvie at this point, but it was just more of like, I need a moment alone with you. So they took him there, or she took them there. So she gets that information. Great. So let's see. I got to catch up with my notes here. So we cut back to Morbius with Ramona one more time. Super celebrating. They're drinking and whatnot. See, there's a lot of paperwork for apparently this big variant catch, so we're signing a bunch of stuff there. So I was curious if at this point, because we saw in episode 2, I think it was 2, yeah, all the reset bombs kind of go off and start this big branching. I'm wondering how they plan on resetting all that, because they seem pretty chill now that the variants are caught. I'm not sure if it's just how they plan on fixing it, if it's just the Timekeepers working on it and rewriting it or whatever it is. I don't know, but I was wondering why that was the case. Mobius is still kind of questioning why he can't talk to Sylvie, blah, blah, blah. Learns that the pruning is going to happen of Loki and Sylvie, and the Timekeepers want to oversee it, and they want Mobius present. Cool. All good there. Mobius then proceeds to kind of think more about what Loki had said with the variants, and he starts questioning more about C20 and how things matter. So he's really questioning his reality here. At this point, he makes the decision to steal Ramona's TemPad and swap it with his, where he will find out that... what did he find out? Took TemPad for more info on C20. He sees like the final stages of C20 before whatever fate lies upon her, and that Ramona was involved. So he's perturbed about that. He goes back, decides, let's get Loki free. You can be whatever you want to be, he says to him, and decides to work with him again. But unfortunately, Judge Ramona is on top of stuff, knows what's going on, finds them. Morbius takes a stand, says, this isn't right, this isn't what I was led to believe, this is how it should be. And, maybe he lived an extra life somewhere else and he wants to learn more about it. Maybe he had a jet ski and he gets pruned, zip-zapped, gone, lightning stick, whatever you want to come. Yeah, he didn't see it coming at all. So Morbius is no more, R.I.P. Before we move on from this point, I was curious if the pruning, these lightning sticks, whatever we want to call them. I know early on in the series, maybe episode 1, I mentioned this kills them completely. I was wondering at this point if the stick is killing them or if it's just sending them once again to be rewritten. We might have an answer for that later. It's hard to say. I don't think we'll know officially until maybe next episode. So maybe Morbius lives, maybe not. Lady Loki is back. Ramona's going to notice that her hair is wet from the hurricane storm. So now guard B-15 is now being hunted because obviously she was the last in the room and she has found out more information. It's clearly, breaking from the beaten path. So both of them are now going to be taken to the Timekeepers for the trial. So this is our big oh boy moment because we haven't seen them at all. We've had hints at the door. We know they're there with the statues, stuff like that. So it's time to go up there. As they're going up the elevator, Sylvie mentions to Ramona, asks her if she remembers her. Ramona says, yes, I remember you. And Sylvie kind of questions why she was taken away. What was her Nexus event that caused her variance, that caused her to be a problem as a child? And they kind of leave us at a cliffhanger here that Ramona doesn't remember. I'm not sure if this is on purpose, just to kind of be like, aw, like a little sad face for the audience or whatever it was. It seems odd that they didn't bring anything up, but sadly we don't know exactly what the reason was that she was taken. Maybe it was because she was the opposite gender. I don't know. I could see why that would be against the sacred timeline, because technically everybody's got to be the same, throughout. So I could see that. But if that's the case, why'd they wait till she was 7? I don't know. Why'd they wait till she was a little grown up? Why not take her when she was born? Maybe it's a morality thing. I don't know. A lot of questions there. I assume it's something bigger. So yeah, anyways, we get the opening of the door, get a big smoky room, there's some guards in there, and we see the Timekeepers. Big giant dudes, 3 of them. None of them look like Kang, so unfortunately that theory's out the window. No Kang is a Timekeeper. We see them, they say that, Loki and Sylvie are no threat to them. I was like, wow, what does that mean? Sylvie starts to make a little outbreak. The time powers. She gets rewound. I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. So, we get that. There's the whole little altercation between the Timekeepers and them. And B-15 shows up. Awesome. Turns out she was the one kind of controlling the rewind. She unhooks their little neck bracelet things. B-15, pa pa pa, kicking some ass. Loki and Sylvie will do the same. And also B-15 brought Sylvie's dagger, which was a trophy in Ramona's office. I forgot to mention that earlier. So we got that. We got the guards in there with the little zip-zap sticks, so careful of that. So we're fighting off the guards. We finally get to the point we're going to deal with the Timekeepers. Sylvie takes her knife. I'm pretty sure she threw it, boink, and decapitates one of them. And it turns out we're in Disneyland. Animatronics. The Timekeeper dudes were just robots / androids. So now we got a big what the fuck moment here of who's actually in control, who's pulling the strings, and I guess they could also just be hiding somewhere, kind of taking those precautions, because Ramona didn't seem too shook up by it, and it'd be safe, to kind of have a backup situation. But yeah, robots, fun. So who created the TVA? Question comes up. We get this little heart-to-heart between Loki and Sylvie, where it seems like Loki's going to, open up to Sylvie about how he feels. And in the meanwhile, I'm like, this is too nice, and wrapping up in a bow for nothing to happen. And then, we get punched in the gut as Loki gets zip-zapped out of there and melts away right in front of Sylvie. R.I.P. Loki. Well, shit. So, the episode is going to end pretty much there. The main episode is going to end there, and Ramona has dealt with that. Sylvie says, she's not going to kill Ramona, but she is going to use her to find out as much information as she can. I don't know what happened to B-15. She shows up, kind of gets punched at one point when her and Ramona are fighting. She wasn't there at the end. I'm sure she's fine, but I don't know what the full situation is there. So my final thought for the main episode, as this happened, as Loki's dissipating away after the pruning, I'm like, okay, so is this series similar to Black Widow and our theories about it, where the reason for this movie, potentially, is because her sister, Florence Pugh's character, is her sister going to take Black Widow's spot and be the new Black Widow? Is this a way for Sylvie, once this is all said and done, to replace Loki, Tom Hiddleston's character, and be the new Loki from here? I don't know. Also, we've seen in the trailers leading up to this series, we've seen other Lokis. So is Sylvie now going to go recruit the other Lokis to be part of her plan? We'll see. And the mid-credits answer some questions to that, but also leave a lot more questions. So we get a mid-credits. This is our first mid-credits of the scene. And, Loki is alive. He's waking up. And I'm like, okay. So we kind of get maybe a confirmation that pruning is not actually, obviously clearly not dead. And they get sent back to somewhere. I have a thought that just popped in my head, but I'll keep it until after this. We hear a familiar voice. Turns out it wasn't a familiar voice, but I thought it did. And holy shit, there's more variant Lokis here to kind of receive Loki from wherever the fuck he's at. We get 3. We get an older gentleman with the old school comic book Loki appearance in his costume. We have another one with a hammer, similar to Thor. And then we get a smaller boy, maybe 10, 11, 12, I don't know, holding an alligator or a crocodile. I don't know the difference. I'll never be able to confirm the difference. Holding the alligator crocodile with a Loki helmet on as well. And it cuts to black. All 4 of these are Lokis. I went on quick research afterwards. Like I said, we have the one in the yellow and the green. That's homage to his old comic appearance originally. The one with the hammer. Apparently there was a storyline where he possessed the Mjolnir and had the power of Thor. The child is another version of Loki where he either possessed the child or became a child, whatever. And funny enough, the crocodile is a version of Loki as well, similar to how Thor had Frog Thor from, I don't remember if it was a enchantment from Enchantress curse or however that happened, but we get that. So we see these variant Lokis. So this kind of answers my questions on the thought at the end of the main episode of we've seen other variant Lokis. Because in the trailers leading up, we had seen more of a presidential looking Loki. I don't know if that's our true Loki or if that's a different one. I assume it's our true one because that would be very confusing keeping all the separate ones probably in line unless they stick with their gimmicks and outfits. So there's that. Now, the thought that came into my head as I was discussing what happened in this mid-credit scene, Loki we see is alive, right? He's in whatever area this is with the other Lokis, the other variant Lokis. Does the pruning stick teleport everybody to the same place? I doubt it, because you probably see them, or they're just leaving it for the next episode. Or does it send everybody to their own separate variant land? So, for example, Loki is with all the different Loki variants. Is Morbius somewhere with all the different Morbius variants? And etc., etc. from there? If so, interesting. Probably confusing too, but just an interesting thought to have. Because, like, once again, if everybody's being pruned to the same area, you would feel maybe Morbius had moved by that time because it had been a few minutes since. But you would assume, they would all be there. Mrs. G says, but they said to him, if you stay here, you'll die. The variants said that to Loki. I don't remember off the top of my head what they did say to him, but I believe you. If so, yikes. Maybe it's like a time thing. Like, if you're here X amount of time, then you're going to be permadead. So maybe they have that little bit of a window to attempt to kind of do something, which will be episode 5, potentially 6, of getting him out of there. He asked himself, am I dead? That is true. That is true. Okay, so that's what they said when he came back in. Interesting. So yeah, maybe it's a matter of time till they're perma erased or whatever it is. Maybe it's a weaning out process. Maybe they try and interrogate or learn more information from the variants of like how things were altered or whatever, or what caused them to try and prevent further issues. I don't know. A lot of questions, but interesting to know that. So yes, that was episode 4 of Loki. Like I said, we picked up the pace back up, at least with information wise, of like stories progressing. Not that episode 3 wasn't, but 3 was more monotone in some cases. We get more interesting things happening with the Timekeepers, with the variant Lokis, with the information we find out about Sylvie and Loki's relationship, and Morbius is obviously untimely depth, maybe. Interesting. Very excited for episode 5 to drop Tuesday. I think this past episode I slacked on. I did not watch Tuesday night, Tuesday, Wednesday morning, however you want to think about this. I did not watch it at drop. I watched it literally last night. Luckily, I wasn't spoiled on anything. I don't think I can do that with these last 2 episodes. Obviously, episode 2 or 3, whichever one, I did get spoiled on a little bit. So I think from here on out, I got to watch that Tuesday night. And I think I got to double watch. Because having it fresh on my mind, I feel this is a better conversation than last week's, for example, of being like, ooh, I don't know, I don't remember as much. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from there. Yeah. Somebody G asks, who do you think the Timekeepers are? Did you have a guess? I don't know. That's going to be the big question. If it's actually 3 people, because we saw it was Disneyland animatronics. It's going to be interesting to see if they just kind of played, what's the term? Not a red herring, but kind of like a, I don't know, like a facade. Like, this is us, but actually we're in another room, another planet, whatever. Like, we're just monitoring the situation from here in case things go south. We're safe. So I'm not sure if it is still these 3 individuals or if it's just a one individual, a Wizard of Oz situation. Exactly, the man behind the curtain. So yeah, it's still tough to say if it's a group of people like the 3 with the 3 statues, or if it's just one individual. There's a lot of questions and theories about maybe Kang, who is a big guy in the comics, who is confirmed casted for the movies. There's rumors that his first movie appearance will be Quantumania, Ant-Man and Wasp, but obviously we don't know until we get closer. But it seems like he's going to be the next big bad, similar to Thanos in Infinity Saga. His character has been known for time travel. I think he's actually from the year like 3000 or something like that. So it lines up with his character being time related, but this could be similar to a power broker situation where it's not actually someone bigger, like whether power broker is Agent 13 Sharon or if it's someone else. I don't know if we have 100% confirmation on that. It could just be somebody else that we're dealing with here. So I don't know officially what the situation is. It's maybe not stressful, but it's interesting and compelling, the fact that the robot thing happened, and now we still have that question up in the air of like, okay, so what's going on? We'll have to see. We will have to see. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where episode 5 and 6 go, how Loki's going to get out with the help of the variant Lokis, what Sylvie's going to do now with Ramona to try and get more information, and hopefully we get some questions answered about where the rest of the pruned characters go, if they even make a return or an appearance. Let's see. Thoughts the chat had. Yeah, Ramona's definitely trying to fix what she screwed up of letting Sylvie go in the trial. I'm intrigued in why she doesn't remember the event. I know it's been years since, but I don't know. If she's so hung up on fixing this issue, I would think she would remember almost every detail about it. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting there. Theory on the relationship. They only love themselves. No one else can really understand them or love them like they love each other. True. Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out as well. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of questions in the air of whether pruned people are actually alive, what the process of it is, what the variant's saying you'll be dead if you stay here too long. I'm really intrigued to see what kind of variants we do get, because obviously we saw the 4 there, the old man, the guy with the hammer, the kid, and the gator. It's going to be interesting to see how much fun they really had with the variants here and how many we actually do see. Whether President Loki is our Loki or a different variant, who knows. Yeah, I'm just excited, very excited for episode 5 to see how this goes, how this continues, and I hope you guys are looking forward to it as well. But yeah, this has been another episode of the Marvel Plus podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911, and I hope you guys are enjoying Loki. Hope you guys are enjoying watching it. If you want to catch this podcast live, you can go over to twitch.tv/Enigma911 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat, join on the conversation. If you're a subscriber over there, we'd love to have you and join in on these crazy theories. If you can't catch it live, that's A-okay. The episodes drop Monday at 12 noon Eastern on YouTube and SoundCloud, so you can check it out over there. Feel free to leave a comment down below, and we might bring it up in the very next episode. But yeah, loving the series, enjoying it. They got me hooked back on, especially after last episode and last week where it was kind of wasn't bad, just not too much happening. Excited to see where this goes. Excited to talk more with you guys about episodes 5 and 6, and then obviously see where we go from here with the What If series and beyond. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.